Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we get ready for Tuesday's NBA, NFL, MLB, WNBA, MMA. Pick your sport. We're going to pick MLB, 14 game slate. Adam, football on the brain. I am now doing Showdown live before lock shows on Sunday and Monday. Those are intriguing. I like Showdown football better than Showdown basketball. I still think Showdown hockey is the best. I never would have thought would say that before.
Yeah, I haven't played it. The only showdown I've played is NFL the last couple of weeks, so still kind of getting my feet wet with that.
Yeah, it's things are very, very top heavy. There are some very good people out there, and my style of play lends itself more towards going into the three mans, even head to heads, and five mans, because I tend to build what is a little bit more safer of an option. Now, yes, you want to be careful when you're going into those three mans. Pick at least one that has a name in there that you don't recognize. Don't worry about if they have a badge or not. But if you don't recognize the name, there's a decent chance that you are at least going up against somebody that is similar in your skill set, especially if you peruse those lobbies from time to time and start to recognize the people that put in a million entries. But it is kind of fun. And a lot of times on Sunday, people tend to be a little tipsy when they make their lineups, or they forget to check. Like Dallas Goedert was very prominent going against me last night. He didn't play, Adam. He hurt himself in warm-ups beforehand. Very sad. Kind of like Rashad Higgins. But in any event, now that Adam's feeling a little feisty, let's just get on into the games here. 14 game slate. We do have, let me see, we do have a little Coors Field action for our gaming pleasure. I've got too many windows open. What else do we have? We've got, Interleague, the Seattle Mariners in Pittsburgh. Much like the Seahawks took on the Pittsburgh Steelers, we have the Mariners taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Marco Gonzales going against Mitch Keller. Intriguing matchup here for Mitch Keller. He's going to get a lot of lefties going against him, but he's also going to get to face the pitcher. That's important because the Mariners live and die by the DH. So their offense is nowhere near as good when they travel because they're one of the teams that really relies on the designated hitter, especially with as thin as their offense is. How are you feeling about Mitch Keller at 81 here on DK?
I'm always interested in Keller just because he has really good stuff. Mid-90s fastball, really good curveball. Strikeout stuff's there. Still not a finished product, so there is plenty of risk. The walks can be an issue. He also, just has had several starts where he's gotten blown up. But I think it is a good strikeout matchup against Seattle. And like you said, no designated hitter. Their lineup gets even weaker. There are strikeouts in the lineup. So I think it's a pretty good spot overall for Keller.
Yeah, and again, I want to reiterate that it's not Keller is almost always going to face the pitcher instead of the designated hitter. This is just a reminder that Seattle's going to be even more watered down than they generally are. They're coming in with a 4.2 implied run total, but some of that is a little bit of the uncertainty there with Keller's uneven play and then bullpen, etc. The other thing I want to point out here is we are sponsored by Yahoo. We're going to talk about them shortly in more detail, but I do want to say Keller is 28 on Yahoo. Would you consider playing 100% of him there?
Yeah, it's a really good price tag. Just really not much risk and tons of reward at that salary.
All right, moving along here, we've got Marco Gonzales, lefty, going against Pittsburgh. Starling Marte, I think he's still out. He's been dealing with a wrist injury. He's played a couple times in the outfield, but he has not swung the bat. I don't have my game logs in front of me. I want to say it's September 3rd is my mind. That would be a long time. The last time he took an at-bat was the 8th, so it's been a full week. So just keep that in mind there. He's gone in as a pinch runner. He's also played the field. You'll see him in a lot of projected lineups. But he's one of the guys that's very good against lefties. Any interest in Gonzales at $3,600 as an SP2 on a slate where some phenomenal matchups for the Reds.
No, I don't think so. Just not much strikeout upside with Gonzales, and then not a lot of strikeouts in the Pittsburgh lineup either. I think that if you want to pay down a pitcher, you can go cheaper than Gonzales too.
Let's head along here. We've got Trent Thornton. Don't want to lose that extra N there. He is 7,100. He is going to be going against, let's see, I'm seeing Shepherd. Does Shepherd have a first name? Who's your guy here from Boston, or former Boston player for your Baltimore Orioles?
I'm not sure. Chandler Shepherd.
Chandler Shepherd. There we are. Yeah. So Chandler Shepherd, not official yet, but a couple of the sites have him in. He did pitch on the 7th, so he would be ready to go. He has bounced around between the show and the minors. 25 on Yahoo. I'd still much rather go with Keller there, but he is 5,700 on DK. Did you call up his minor leagues?
Yeah, nothing special.
He stretched out.
He should be. He started. He made 14 appearances at AAA for the Orioles. 12 were starts, and he made 8 for the Red Sox. Eight appearances for the Red Sox. 7 starts. I'm pulling up his game logs now, but he should be stretched out.
All right. While you're looking at that, let's talk a little bit about Yahoo real quick. If you have not yet signed up for Yahoo, have I got a deal for you? Use the promo code. Oh, wait for it. Awesome-o, but you got to come in on our link. So go to any of the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks articles. Those are free every day. All you got to do is come into awesemo.com, upper left, click on the little button that says MLB, click on articles, and you will see the Spotlight Hitters article. If it's not on the front page, it will be waiting there for you. Those are free, along with its companion piece, the Spotlight Pitchers article. Those are up there every day. But in the third paragraph of the Spotlight Hitters article, it does have the link and instructions on how to get up to $30 in your initial Yahoo DFS deposit bonus. What do you got for Chandler Shepherd?
August 30th was his last appearance at AAA. He threw 99 pitches.
Okay, so reasonable. And it fits. So 5,700. He's going to be in the mix. Toronto, all the legacies. They have a decent lineup. They have been no hit this year. They have also had five or six home run games. So outcomes may vary wildly, but we've got some amazing offensive situations here. One of them is in our next game. Adam, Logan Webb, 6,900 going against Nate Eovaldi, 7,200. San Francisco got a 4.4 implied run total. Boston, 6.1. 6.1 they're going against one Logan Webb. This looks like it might be one of the counter moves to the old Coors Field extravaganza. 2 things you want to watch out for. Boston is all but eliminated right now. They're not going to catch the Yankees. They're 13 games back. They're 9 back in the wild card. Mookie Betts is a little dinged up, and then I think JD Martinez might be a little sore as well. It's the end of the season. We just want to make sure we get a full lineup or guys that are going to play the whole game. How are you feeling about either of these pitchers at all? Adam, Logan Webb and Nate Eovaldi.
Not interested in Webb getting outside of San Francisco, going into Boston, so a negative park shift. The Red Sox, like you said, we don't know what the lineup will necessarily look like, but pretty much no matter who's in it, it's still not a great matchup. I do have interest in Eovaldi, though. He's 7,200 on DraftKings, so pretty reasonable price tag. He's fully stretched out, facing the Giants. He struck out about 23.5% of hitters this year. I don't think he's a great play, but I do think that he's a viable mid-range option.
All right, I overshot on Boston. They're 18 back from the Red Sox. American League East. In the wild card, they are 9 back. Continuing along here because we got a lot of games. Matt Boyd, Adam Plutko, both these guys, and I didn't think I'd say this until just now. Both these guys giving up a lot of home runs. Adam, did you know Matt Boyd is, I think, 3rd in the league this year for home runs allowed?
Yeah, I knew he was up there just from how frustrating his starts have been when I roster him this year. But also out of the really good starting pitchers, he has one of the highest barrels per batted ball percentages as well. So it makes sense that he's having issues with home runs.
Feels like a tough ask at 8,900 going against Cleveland here. Plutko on the other side does get the semi-dream matchup going against Detroit. They do have their moments, but what is their projected lineups? Isolated power is it about 140?
Yeah, it's really low.
I was gonna. Did you know over 400 at bats and change? Miguel Cabrera has a .089 isolated power.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not good. So nobody's over 200. So he's not really dragging it down. They're all bad. So that is the one weakness of Plutko is he does give up power to both sides of the plate, but reasonably priced here. We have potential for 6 to 9 mile an hour wind coming in, depending on which site you look at, from right or from right center. It's going to be in the mid 70s, lower humidity there in Cleveland. So reasonable pitching environment. Would you consider what would you need to do or need to have happen for you to consider Plutko?
I mean, you can consider anyone against the Tigers because they're that bad, but just not great strikeout stuff for him. And he's priced up for the matchup. He normally wouldn't be 7,700, so I don't really like him all that much.
All right, and then we'll cruise around at the end here through FanDuel and Yahoo pricing just to give everybody a flavor for how everything sorts out.
Are you sure that it's Matt Boyd for Detroit? Because I see him on one site, but no others.
We go to, well, you just want me to see what MLB favorite adventure, having me say loving things about the hard work. Oh, come on, computer, don't freeze me. All right.
They have TBD.
FTBD. So put a pin in that. Fortunately, you're going to get the DFS strategy on Tuesday morning. That will have with regards to this game. Some of the teams that are out of it are either doing openers or they are bringing in their expanded roster. Not necessarily throwing their expanded roster guys more than 4 innings because those guys have all done a whole season at the minors, and a lot of them are approaching their career highs in pitch limits. So even if it's somebody coming up and getting the start, there's a good chance they're only going to go 70, 80 pitches regardless. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we wind down the final 2 weeks of the regular season. Philly in Atlanta. It's going to be 90 degrees there in Atlanta. Hey, we're finally into mid-September. We don't have to talk as much about pop-up storms, at least not in this homestand. We've got Vince Velasquez at 61 going against Dallas Keuchel, who is remembering some of his mojo from his Cy Young Award-winning season. Velasquez went 96 pitches in his last outing. This is a tough matchup. I'm not really excited taking him against the Braves. They are still working for playoffs and playoff seeding, so they're not taking anybody lightly. Keuchel on the other side, a little bit interesting here going against the Phillies, who are also fighting for their playoff lives. How do you feel about Keuchel at 9,400 on a slate where we have all this offense?
It's just more expensive than I want to pay for a guy that really doesn't get strikeouts. Keuchel has a 19.8% strikeout percentage. He's good at preventing runs. He gets a lot of ground balls, but that doesn't really reward you in DFS, so I don't anticipate getting a lot of Keuchel.
All right, this will be the third time he's faced the Phillies. He's got 13 innings against them, 11 strikeouts, which is a little above what he normally does. Let's see, he has not allowed a home run since August 20th, so that is 1 home run in his last 6 starts. Pretty good there, pretty good. Continuing along, because we have a lot to go through here. Lucas Giolito, difficult matchup here going against the Twins. 10,600. A random 740 game. We've got a few of those. I believe that has something to do with school being back in session. Midwest there, but we've got the Twins with Martin Perez. Price is dropping, Adam. He is down to 5,900. I really can't in good conscience go with either of these guys. Giolito, slightly interesting, but not with Coors Field on the mound or on the slate. I don't think I'll get any Twins hitters against him, though.
Yeah, I mean, Giolito's a really good pitcher, but it's just tough to pay up for pitchers against Minnesota, especially because you do have several options at the top on this slate. I think Perez is kind of interesting just because the White Sox do strike out so much. He's not a very good pitcher. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys on his own, but only 5,900 on a slate where there are bats to pay for. I don't have a lot of confidence, but I think that I would rather roster him than, say Marco Gonzales.
Yeah, so Perez he started off amazing for the season, then he started to falter, and now it's just the pendulum is swinging back and forth. Gave up 5 against Washington, 1 at Boston. That was 1. 5 against Washington, 1 at Boston, 7 at Detroit, 2 at home against Detroit, 2 in Texas, none in Philly, 7 against Atlanta, 5 against KC, 3 against the White Sox, 5 against New York. So it's just all over the board there. But 5,900, worthy of some consideration. Just looking, we're not expecting nobody's really dinged up with the White Sox, are they? So that's probably their projected lineup is their actual lineup.
Yeah, just, a lot of strikeouts. But one thing that you'll want to pay attention to as far as the lineup is what catchers are in there, because we could get Castillo plus McCann. We could get Zach Collins instead. If Collins is in the lineup, it's an upgrade for Perez.
Okay. Cool. Continuing along here. Oh, Brandon Woodruff back in our lives. Haven't seen him for a while. Let's read the news and notes here. He's coming in at $10,000. That is spendy. On the other side, you have Chris Paddock who is going to throw approximately 90 pitches. When I say 90, I literally mean 90. So 10,200 going against Milwaukee. They don't have Christian Yelich, who is out for the year, but they are still fighting for their playoff lives there with the Cubs and St. Louis Cardinals. So they're not giving up anything easy, even when it's Corey Spangenberg and Orlando Arcia, along with Trent Grisham, playing prominent roles. That's still too much for Paddock. Woodruff on the other side, he's actually going to be limited in his pitches. He is coming in as the probable opener. So nothing really to say there. It is $10,000 price tag. Anything of note in this game for you, Adam?
No, I don't think so. Paddock's priced up enough to where it's tough to get too excited about him on this slate because of the pitch count. Not the easiest matchup against Milwaukee either. He's 8,700 on FanDuel, so a little bit more appealing there, but still think there's better options. Same goes for Yahoo, where he's $41. Don't have news on how deep Woodruff's expected to go. If somehow we get a report that he's not limited, which I don't expect, but if we were to get that, then I think he's a really good play, but I doubt that'll be the case.
So they're saying he is hoping to make 3 starts before this is Woodruff, the end of the season, and ideally he will pitch a little further each time.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like someone that I'm paying up for.
No. But this one's all you, Adam. We've got Patrick Corbin going against Miles Mikolas. And you just shook your head. I can't see you, but I know you did. Talk to us about Pat Corbin in this matchup against a whole host of righties, but one of the more preeminent pitchers we have on this slate.
Really good pitcher in Corbin, but I think that on this slate, it's going to be tough because not only is he expensive, but you also have Verlander and Darvish at the top. So you have two pitchers that I actually like a little bit more than Corbin that you can pay up for if you're going that route. The lineup being almost entirely right-handed isn't ideal. He's still good against righties, but the strikeout percentage is about 10 points lower against right-handed hitters than left-handed hitters. So you're paying a premium for him in a matchup that is less than ideal.
All right, 48 on Yahoo. We'll talk about that in a moment here, but that is something to consider there. Nicholas on the other side, or Michaelis, as he really is, goes by. I don't really want to take him against the Nationals. This is actually a low implied run total here. It's going to be in the mid 80s in St. Louis. Pretty much about 50% humidity, slight breeze blowing in from the outfield. But each team has a 4 implied run total here. It's basically a pick 'em, slight edge to the Nationals, but barely. I don't want to pay 7,900 against the Nationals for Michaelis. Any thoughts on him?
No, just not a high strikeout guy. And the Nats are a team that I really hate taking pitchers against anyway because they have so many good hitters and so many guys that don't strike out a lot. So pretty easy pass on Michaelis.
All right, he's 30 on Yahoo. I'm assuming you would much rather have Keller at 28.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Yu Darvish going against a guy. I've never heard of this guy, Sonny Gray. What? He's 9,900. Shouldn't he be a $5,000 or $10,000 pitcher? Here's another one, Adam. They want to hear what you have to say. This is a spot where we're going to look towards our potential pitching options. That both are expensive. We don't have an implied run total yet because this is in Chicago and we have a little bit of a wind coming in at this point. I did see some later forecasts that said around Tuesday or Wednesday the wind may start to be blowing out. It's slightly blowing in at this point. For me, I don't worry about anything less than 10 miles an hour in Chicago because of the way they've reconfigured the buildings and did a little remodeling a couple years ago. I just am not seeing the wind factor as consistently as we used to. So I don't worry about it as much. That's just my take. But you've got Gray and Darvish, and I'm expecting we're going to see like an 8.5 run total in this one.
Yeah, it should be really low. Two really good pitchers. And we talked a lot about Darvish, how he's improved as the season's gone on. He was walking a lot of hitters at the beginning of the season, and that hasn't been an issue for him. Going back to June 10th, he hasn't had a double-digit walk percentage in a single game. He started 97 innings with a 33.4% strikeout percentage, only a 2.9 walk percentage, 2.97 xFIP. So really pitching like an ace now, and has a pretty decent matchup against the Reds. Joey Votto was a late scratch yesterday, so there's a chance that he's not in the lineup, which would make it even better for Darvish. So he's expensive, but I think he's a strong option if you can't quite find the money for Verlander. And then on the other side, of course, I always like Sonny Gray. The Cubs are a tough matchup, so it's not like he's jumping off the board for me, but he is probably my favorite option in his salary range. You have him at 9,900 on DraftKings. The alternatives are, Chris Paddock, who's probably going to throw about 90 pitches, G Alito against Minnesota, Lance Lynn against Houston, Keuchel against the Phillies. So I think that within that price range, Gray's the guy I get to the most.
Continuing on here, we are. Oh, that was our first 8 o'clock game. We're moving through here to Houston. Looks like there's a chance the roof may be closed there at Minute Maid. You've got Lance Lynn going against Justin Verlander here. Lynn, 9,700. The Houston Astros are not a lineup I really want to tangle with. They still have a 5.5 implied run total here, so no for Lynn. Verlander, on the other hand, Adam, is 12,800 on DK, most expensive. He is 12,000 on Yahoo, also the most expensive, and no surprise, on FanDuel, rounding out Yahoo, he is the most expensive at 63. So basically, Apex pricing for him feels like it could be worth it in the Coors game. Just to jump ahead a little bit, we do have Marcus Stroman, ground ball pitcher, Tim Melville, kind of a mess, but 85 in Coors Field. Do you want to spend on Verlander, knowing how good he is and knowing how phenomenal this matchup actually will end up being for him with the strikeout upside, or do you go for the bats? With that lens, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the issue with Verlander. You're more than happy with every lineup that you get him in. He's the best pitcher on the slate. He's got a great matchup against Texas. Plenty of left-handed hitters in that lineup, and he actually has a higher strikeout percentage against lefties than righties this year. So no real negatives for Verlander. It's just a matter of how many lineups can you get him into, because you do have the Coors game. The salaries in that game there are some cheap options. That's one thing that we've seen recently with Coors, is that the Rockies have some not very good players up right now, and it lets you get value in Coors Field. So maybe it won't be that difficult to get the Verlander.
All right, continuing along, well, let's just wrap up the Coors Field. Stroman, Millville. Yeah, not really interested in either. I could see on the 8 o'clock slate there going with a little bit of Stroman, hoping the ground balls hold. Do either of these pitchers dissuade you from the hitters?
No, Stroman is a good pitcher, but it's still Coors Field, and you still have pretty cheap Colorado bats, like I had mentioned. The only expensive hitters on Colorado are Story, Arenado, and Blackman. You have a cheap McMahon. You have cheap probably Sam Hilliard, Garrett Hampson. So the salary and the park outweighs Stroman's ability, especially because he pitches to contact, and that's really the benefit to hitting in Coors Field. It's not so much home runs, even though it is a good home run park, but it's that the batting average on balls in play is just so much higher than in other parks because of the size of the outfield. So a pitcher like Stroman that pitches to contact isn't really someone that you're going to shy away from. And then Tim Melville on the other side, nothing special about him. The Mets have a 7.5 implied run total. I think that up and down the lineup, the Mets have really good hitters. So I like both offenses.
All right, 3 to go here. We have Miami in Arizona. The roof will be open this series. We have Caleb Smith, 8,500, going against Alex Young. Alex Young absolutely, trolled all of us. I think it was his last outing, Adam. 2 outings ago against Cincinnati, where he went 8 innings, 12 strikeouts. In the 2 games before and the 1 game after, he had 12 combined strikeouts. That is what we call an outlier, folks. What do you think about Alex Young in the matchup against a righty-heavy Miami team? Roof open here at 8,700.
The one thing that I don't like is that Miami actually isn't a great strikeout matchup against lefties, much more so against righties, but they're going to have probably an entirely right-handed lineup. Young's not a great strikeout pitcher on his own. If you have guys like Miguel Rojas, Starling Castro, Martin Prado in the lineup, it's not the best spot for strikeouts, and he's priced up on DraftKings at 8,700. So, maybe if on other sites you can find him at a more appealing price range, then fine, because Miami's still a below average offense, but I don't really want to pay for him here.
All right. Caleb Smith, Arizona, top 3 team against righties, but we do have some strikeouts there. Wilmer Flores and his magic tears can't scare you away, can they, Adam?
I like the Diamondbacks here, actually. The roof being open makes the park more of a neutral park than a pitcher's park. And Caleb Smith, while he does have good strikeout stuff, he will give up power as well. And there's really not a lot of strikeouts in the Arizona lineup. And there is a lot of power with guys like Ketel Marte, Eduardo Escobar, Walker, Wilmer Flores, Carson Kelly, even down at the bottom of the order. So I think Arizona probably goes overlooked on this slate, but they have a lot of upside here.
All right. 2 to go. George Lopez, he's fallen off the track of the other Lopi, but we've got him going against Oakland. That just doesn't seem fair. However, 4,700, Adam, worth the conversation. You also have Brett Anderson at 5,300. He's going against going against the Royals here. I want to see how Anderson has been doing for his strikeouts. Yes, I can still say that he strikes out a batter every other inning, whether he wants to or not. 66 innings, 85 strikeouts. Yikes.
Yeah.
They're cheap. That's all I've got to say, Adam. They're cheap. We do have a 3.6 implied run total going against Anderson. That feels good. Oakland, you are going to see them in the Spotlight Hitters late slate article because they are implied for a 6.1 implied run total against George Lopez. What do you think, Adam?
I normally don't roster Anderson, but I do think it's kind of appealing here where he's 5,300 on DraftKings, only a 3.5 implied run total for Kansas City. It's a favorable park for pitchers. And with there being the game in Coors, Anderson just lets you get so much into your lineup in the way of hitters. You can pair him with a good SP1. So I actually don't think he's a particularly bad play here. Lopez, brutal matchup against Oakland. Not a lot of strikeout, tons of power. I think between the two, I would actually prefer Anderson.
All right. Yeah, it's the way you just have to come down when you start looking at the offenses. You're hoping for some clean innings, and maybe this will be a game where he gets 4 strikeouts in 6 innings. Maybe that'll happen. Final game of the night, and then we'll talk about the other 2 pitching sides and get on out of here. We have the Tampa Bay Rays in Los Angeles taking on the Dodgers. Blake Snell back in our lives, the Snell elevator, going against Ross Stripling. Stripling probably going to go about 4 innings or so would be my guess. He is down to 6,600. Rays are a tough team to go against, but they do lose the designated hitter here. How do you feel about the final pair of pitchers on our Tuesday night slate?
Yeah, it's pretty tough to get to either one because I expect both to be relatively limited. Obviously, a tough matchup for Snell as well. Better matchup for Stripling, but not expected to go deep into the game. So even though I think both pitchers are good, in Snell's case, obviously really, really good, but not really guys that I'm looking at for DFS.
All right, and that is going to kind of do it. Let me get the pricing open here. We'll look at FanDuel. So we are saying, who would we start over Verlander for the price? Verlander is at 12,000. Our next guy that will be on the docket is Yu Darvish at 10.4. Which would you prefer?
I think I prefer Verlander, but
right.
but I don't think Darvish is a bad consolation.
Sonny Gray 300 less.
Darvish.
Corbin 400 less.
Darvish.
Chris Paddock 8,700. So that is what 2,300 less.
Darvish, if I can get the money.
And that I think is going to do it for you. Where is Keller? Keller at 5,800.
Yeah, he's if you're going really cheap to pitcher, I think he's the guy. I prefer him to Logan Webb. I prefer him to Velasquez.
2 Mitch Kellers or Justin Verlander. Same price.
Right.
All right, let's look at Yahoo real quick here. Verlander at 63, Darvish, Corbin, and Gray 48 and 47.
Verlander's always the answer. It's just a matter of, can you get to him? But I think that out of that next tier, Darvish is the guy.
Right, and then we're cruising down a little bit. You didn't like Keuchel. Eovaldi at 35.
That's fine. Doesn't get me excited, but it's not crazy. I really think that there's probably going to be enough value on Yahoo where you could get to like Yu Darvish plus Gray or something like that and be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, if you go with Keller and Verlander, you got $13 a piece. If you go with Darvish and Gray, you've got $13 a piece. So there's your what do we call that? The sweet spot.
Yep.
$13. All you got to do is find one $7 player, and what does that get us to? Just because I've already started, that gets us to 14. And if you get 2, that gets you to 15. All of a sudden, you can get the Coors Field hitters in. All right, so with that, we are going to get on out of here. You can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS. And of course, it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.